Welcome to the Kingswood Oxford College Advising webinar. I'm gonna get ourselves all situated here. My name is Michelle Collin, and I'm here with the College Advising team at Kingswood Oxford School. I'm going to be sharing the screen with Jamie Silver and her team of college advisors. And I'm going to be disappearing a little bit and be behind the scenes so that Jamie and her team can start to speak. So right now, I'm going to hand it over to Jamie and team. I am going to stop my video and you guys are good to go.
My name's Jamie Silver. I'm the class of 1996. I'm the Director of College Advising. Just a brief introduction. This will be the third group of graduating seniors. So I've been here a little over three years at KO. So excited to be back at my alma mater after some short stints in other high schools, as well as working in college admission offices. I'm going to ask Peggy Clark to introduce herself.
Hi, Peggy Clark, and I am one of the Associate Directors of College Advising. I actually started at Kingswood Oxford School in 1995, so I've been here for a long time. I did have 5 years out where I was in a couple of public schools as well as one parochial school, and then had the good fortune to come back to Kingswood Oxford in 2013. And next would be Matt Waldman.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Waldman, and I've been college advising since 2005, working with students originally in Ohio, and then after that in the Boston area, and finally at Kingswood Oxford School. And I just want to remind everybody, I'm going to be watching all of the questions that you may be submitting tonight. And so if you scroll your mouse to the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A feature. If you type in a question, we're going to do our best to get to everybody's questions tonight. So go ahead, and as you think of them, just go ahead and ask them. And if we can, we'll answer them right away, but most likely we'll be saving them to the end.
Okay, ready guys?
We are ready.
All set.
Okay, I am going to share my screen, get that great presentation up here, ready to go. Okay.
Thanks so much, Michelle. So as I said before, my name is Jamie Silver. I'm the Director of College Advising at KO. We wanted to take a little bit of time to talk specifically about our 4-year college advising curriculum. For those who had not watched the previous video about kind of the philosophy and guiding principles of the college advising office, I thought I would share that with you. I think that is really part of what makes us truly special and distinctive, particularly in the greater Hartford area. So as an institution, we have 3 full-time college advisors. So our small ratio of about 35 students to 1 college advisor is probably one of the smallest, if not the smallest in the area. When considering and thinking of public, private, parochial institutions, our full-time positions are as college advisors. And we are experts in our field. So as Matt said, he's been doing this work since 2005. Peggy's been doing it since 95, and I've been doing this work in some form or another since 2000. So we really are experts in our field. And there are lots of things that make us experts beyond just kind of because we say so. But we have the really opportunity to meet with 120 plus college reps each year who come solely to KO to meet with our 90 plus graduating seniors. So really that in-depth one-on-one experience. We sit on a number of college advisory boards. So colleges across the country, from Grinnell College to Washington University in St. Louis, to Lynn University, to Holy Cross, ask for our feedback as they think about the admission offices and their decisions that they are making and how it impacts kids over the course of the country and the world in their process. We present at multiple conferences as well as attend our conferences, and we continually do professional develop, both participating in conferences as well as visiting colleges across the country and really internationally. So one of the things as an individualized approach, we really, it's not so much about focusing on the outcomes, but it's focusing for our kids to be prepared as college prep students to do their best in any post-secondary setting. Michelle, can you flip the slide? Awesome. So this is really our central question. What do I love to do and what do I love to learn? And sorry, I can't even read the whole thing. Apologies for technical difficulties. My first Zoom webinar, so my apologies for that. And Michelle, can you flip the slide again? We always are asking our kids in kind of student-centered approach to college advising, what is it they love to do and why do they love to do it? And that could be learning in the classroom to outside of that experience. Our goal is not solely focused on outcomes. We want kids to be empowered to answer those important questions about what do they want for their future? How do they define success? What does that mean to them? Those are the questions that we are asking our kids almost daily when we are meeting with them, whether they are in 9th grade or in 12th grade. And we do this in a lot of different ways. I don't know about you, but if somebody came to me as an adult came to a 9th grader and asked me, what do you want to do and where do you see your future? I'd probably be a little bit nervous. We really focus on building those relationships early. We focus on this holistic approach, individual service to our students and our families. We believe that we are a team with our families. So being a day school, we get to know not only the students, but also the parents and the adults who are kind of guiding the students through that process. And we spend a lot of time working with experts in the field to really think about that. But at the heart of this student-centered approach is that 4-year curriculum. So I'm going to turn it over to Peggy to kind of kick us off in the 9th and 10th grade year.
So, hello again, Peggy Clark. I'm going to talk about our curriculum in the 9th grade and the 10th grade. And my basic answer in terms of how to best prepare for the college process that's going to happen in greater detail towards the end of high school is for the incoming 9th graders to focus on becoming the best KO students that they can be. And as we do with everything here at KO, that means developing holistically in a very personal environment with an overlapping network of adults who care deeply about the students in our charge. And so all of our kids in every grade are assigned to a small group of co-advisees who work with an academic advisor for the first 2 years. The freshmen also have a senior prefect that's assigned to their advising group, and the adults and the prefects work really hard at helping the 9th graders adjust to high school, whether it's learning how to manage their time or discovering what the opportunities are beyond the classroom. There are so many important things that happen in the transition to 9th grade that actually are laying the groundwork for the kinds of questions that they're going to grapple with in a deeper way, perhaps by the time they get to the college advising process later on. We really want students to think about their own development in terms of not only refining the interests and the skills that they arrive at KO with, but also taking risks and exploring other areas that may open up possibilities that they hadn't thought of before. So the 9th grade's a really busy year filled with transition and exploration and learning how to be really good KO students as the best preparation they can do at that age for the college process later on. One of the things that KO offers that's an annual event is what we call our Space Fair, Summer Programs and Career Exploration. And this is just one of the many ways that we also, as a day school, try to provide opportunities or knowledge about opportunities that are available during the summer and other times. We have some wonderful, again, as a day school, we can do this, wonderful relationships with local nonprofits and other entities. We have a very close relationship, for example, with Junior Achievement, which allows us to offer some really important and interesting job shadows and other kinds of programming. So that's essentially our 9th grade curriculum from the college advising point of view. And then in 10th grade, the students continue to work with their academic advisors, both in terms of the academic work that they're doing, as well as continued individual exploration. We assign college advisors to our sophomore families in February because we want to give families someone specific to whom they can turn if they have questions looking ahead to the college process. But we also reassure them that we work really well together as a whole office. And so they have an individual advisor as of February, but again, they can ask any one of us a question at any time. In late February, we do an evening program for the 10th grade parents on the college advising process from there on out. And we do a daytime program for the students. And that program, I really enjoyed the daytime program because we used a panel of seniors to work with the students. And from my point of view, it was really highly successful. We also do a couple of rounds of practice standardized testing. And one of the things we're trying to do is to help the students and their parents figure out early on which of the options will suit the student better. It's completely off the record, and so we're also trying to reduce any stress kids are feeling about the standardized testing part of the process. We are available to answer questions at any time, even though the students are still 10th graders. And we start this early with the students and the families, not to increase the pressure, but to make sure that we're available to answer questions and to normalize what they should be doing or should not worry about at this time. So that's 9th and 10th grade. And then Matt's going to take over and talk about 11th and 12th grade.
All right. Hi, everybody. If you've just joined, again, my name is Matt Waldman. I'm one of the Associate Directors of College Advising at KO. And I'm going to walk us through 11th and 12th grade, which you could probably guess are 2 big years when it comes to the college advising process. And so we start in the fall with a couple different activities. We really begin with our college seminar class. And so that starts in September of junior year. And that college seminar class in the fall will only meet once a month. Our goal is to allow those juniors to get into their coursework, to have the time they need to really excel in the classes that they're taking and not have to spend a ton of time on their college application process quite yet. But of course, we want to give them critical information in critical time. And so we're just kind of helping build those relationships, give them any needed advice, and of course, build that relationship where they can ask questions or families can come and ask questions if they need to. One of the activities that we're going to walk them through in the fall is another round of practice standardized tests. And so that involves the PSAT and also the National Merit Scholars Qualifying Test. That's the same test offered by the College Board, as well as another pre-ACT. And we do that again, as Peggy said, so that students can choose which test that they think they prefer, which one do they score better on. Is there one that suits their natural abilities a little bit better? So that they can judge where they want to spend their time and energy when it comes to preparing for standardized tests. We don't necessarily encourage students to overly prepare for those practice tests, but we do want them to go in knowing a little bit and also taking it seriously So again, they can use it as a good measure for where they want to move in the future. Lastly, we start with the one-on-one college advising process in the fall. And so that means we're going to meet individually with students just a little bit towards the end of the fall, and potentially families as well. We know some families really want to get that process started. They have questions, and we want to sit down for our first official long form meeting, and those are usually 45 minutes or so. And what we're doing is we're asking questions. Where do you think you fit in? What works really well for you in school? What's been a challenge for you? When you think about college, where do you see yourself and what do you see yourself doing? Really trying to understand on an individual level, what does that student need? What is that family looking for? So that we can use our experience and our understanding of the college landscape and apply it to each family and each student's individual needs. As we move deeper into the year, we work on both that whole college list building process, making sure we're finding a list of about 7 to 15 schools from the beginning that they can kind of understand and think, oh, is this school worthwhile to end up on my finalized list? And then we get into some of the nuts and bolts about the application process. We're working with the English department on their college essays and really helping them get a jump start on that so they have a rough draft by the time they finish their junior year, which is wonderful. Again, I mentioned that college list. We want them to end the year with about 10 or 15 schools, and we want them to think about schools that are going to be potentially in that reach category, that target category where their scores and their grades really match what that school is looking for, as well as some schools that we know admission is pretty likely, just so that we have all of those bases covered. And then throughout the year, we're also going to offer the opportunity for families and students to have some programs where we're bringing in experts from outside of our community. And so that comes in both the form of financial aid experts as well as college admissions experts. I'm just trying to think, in the last couple of years, I think we had Tufts, Yale, the University of Pennsylvania, Syracuse, UConn, Davidson, and those are just a few of the schools that we brought in for programs where our families and our students got to talk with them, ask them questions, and in some cases work with them on a college admissions case for them to really understand the process. We can move forward now to 12th grade as well. So in senior year, this is where, we've taken all the work that we've done in the last part of junior year, and now we want to come forward with that finalized college list, and we want to think about strategically, when should we be putting out applications? We know that most of our students have an application out at some point in the month of November. And so that means that we want to really be ready by the middle of October and say, like, okay, let's give ourselves 2 weeks of wiggle room just in case anything needs to change. But we're helping students finalize their applications, and that means thinking through their extracurricular list and how they're going to present it to colleges, going through those final rough drafts of essays, and offering them a lot of one-on-one support as we do that. Just some of the other things that you see on your screen right now, we walk them through financial aid. We can do everything from helping families complete financial aid forms to just offering some of our advice around receiving the best financial aid possible. We work with students on preparing for college interviews and how to request those interviews and which schools those interviews really matter, for them to ask for and make sure they sit down for an interview with. And so we're trying to give them the best real-time information. As we make our way into December and winter break, we know that the application process is well underway. Our students have almost definitely applied to a school, and some of them have heard back, and we hope they've heard back some positive news. And then, of course, when we return from winter break, we're getting ready for the regular decision round. And so that those deadlines are typically January 1 through January 15. And we're helping students make any adjustments necessary in their process, working with their family on any news that they've heard back, and make smart decisions as they move forward. Lastly, what we're doing right now is we're working with students who have some amazing choices, right? Our seniors have some amazing options, and they're just trying to figure out, what does this financial aid package really mean for me? Or I'm trying to decide between these 2 or 3 really good schools. Which one do you think is going to be the best fit? Or how can a student figure out which one is the best fit for them? And so we're helping them kind of through the finish line and get ready for a successful college experience.
So I know Matt's gonna kind of be our MC in helping us with the questions. We really do want to answer your questions, to hear. I know that a few of you have already started to type those into the Q&A section, but this really is what we're hoping for, to hear that. I want to just also, before we start with the questions and maybe give you some thinking time, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what we're doing in this challenging times, right? I think that it's actually quite a test case, but also says a lot about what our program can do and does for our students and families. And I think that within a week, we met with every single junior in our Form 5 in our junior course, in our junior class, to be able to answer their questions, relieve kind of anxieties around a very unknown time, and are also still providing the opportunity to really meet one-on-one with those students and their seniors and their families as they are hearing from colleges. So I think that that's really a testament to the college office and kind of our intentionality and appreciation for the relationship building of our experience. You know, we're at a point in the college process, but also a point at KO where our students, our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are choosing classes. And now that we have sophomores and juniors and assigned, we are meeting with those families one-on-one throughout our days, even though we're working from home. So I wanted to make sure that that was kind of clear, that we have started those relationships so that those families feel comfortable asking us the questions, having somebody to ask, to be able to figure out what happens next. How is this impacting the process for them?
So Jamie, I know that we have a number of questions here. I think I'll get us started on this one. What competitive advantage does KO's College Advising Office have as these students are trying to figure out, you know, or the people in attendance right now might be trying to figure out what school has resources that they really need? What are some of the things that you think KO's College Advising Office does really well?
So thanks, Matt. I started this in the beginning in saying that we really have a distinctive feature, and that is the size, right? The fact that we are full-time college advisors and we have a caseload under 40 for each of our classes is really kind of I cannot think of many in the greater Hartford area, and I've worked at a couple. And to have our kids where our virtually 100% are going on to four-year colleges, not only to have that full-time experience where that is our job. We are not teaching, we are not coaching. We are full-time in our office being able to provide for our families who are 6 through 12. We give that opportunity. But I also think it's important that it's not just that. I think that the competitive advantage, if you will, that we are saying to our families that we are accessible to them as much as we are accessible to their students, allows for parents to be calling, to answer, you know, we're answering emails, that we are really kind of partnering with, rather than kind of telling parents and families that we have their kids, so you're all set. We allow for kind of being that, I often say that there's a lot of noise in the college process, and we are able to kind of sift through that noise for them to be a beacon or a place to answer and ask those questions. I hope that I'm answering your question, Matt.
Yeah, I think that that's good. So let's move on. We have a couple different questions here about testing. Peggy, why don't we let you field this one? Okay. The question is, does your program include stewarding the students through the PSAT? And how do you connect students with or assess their needs for additional SAT prep classes or courses?
Okay. If by stewarding them through the PSAT, the person posing the question is asking if we have them prep specifically to take the PSAT, the answer would be No, we're not advising test prep for the PSAT. We do that preliminary, sort of that 10th grade layer of exposing all of our students to the format. But the research shows that the best time for test prep is not prior to taking the PSAT and MSQT in the fall of junior year. And so that's part of, I think, the noise that Jamie is referring to. The research shows that kids are likely to hit their best SAT or ACT scores in the spring of their junior year or in the fall of their senior year. And so part of sort of controlling the stress that comes around with testing is starting earlier and testing more often is not what we're recommending to our kids. Being strategic and picking the right time to prep is really important. Having said that, we have partnered for decades with Summit Educational Group. And so once we get to January of each year, Summit offers classes for both the SAT and the ACT that are held at KO on Saturdays. They are 6 weeks of class designed to lead up to, in most years, the March SAT or the April ACT and the May SAT again. Certainly, we're a day school, and so I think one of the things that you will see is that we have a great respect for parents' ability to make choices that are right for their student. And so we certainly have a lot of our kids who will do the test prep through Summit, but other families will make other choices, and that's perfectly all right. So I think that's so what I would say, I guess, is, yeah, we think prep makes a difference. And so we certainly encourage all of our juniors to figure out in collaboration with us or with our advice and guidance as to what prep they're going to do. And that is one of the key things that we talk about in both the individual junior meeting with the student and with the family meeting, is to have a testing plan. And one of the things Jamie had mentioned, that we've been busy, even though at home, one of the things we've been talking about with all of our juniors is how the current circumstance affects the ability to test and the timing of the testing. And so those are conversations that we are completely on top of, even though we're here at home and our kids are at home. So ironically, parents are at home now too. So it's made family meetings really easy to coordinate. I've had more than I can count in the last couple of weeks. So yes, we're working really closely and intensely with both students and families about testing, but we're looking to design a testing plan that makes sense for each student. And we're looking to help control sort of the stress and the panic that can develop from that white noise that's out there in the universe.
All right, thank you, Peggy. There's also a question that somebody just asked saying, can you speak more about what you do to specifically help students find out what their strengths and interests are? I'll go ahead and take this one. So I think, first and foremost, we have a saying in our college advising office that it's a lot easier. There are about 4,000 colleges, right, in the United States, and maybe a couple hundred that our students would really be considering normally in a college advising process. That's a lot. And so we always say it's a lot easier to know yourself really well than it is to know 4,000 colleges. But more importantly, how do they know themselves? And so, there's a few things that we do. First and foremost, as Jamie was saying in the beginning, we really believe that building that relationship is going to matter. And so we try to work one-on-one and in group settings with students so that we can build that relationship, so we can have authentic conversations with them and try to really understand them using our experience of working with hundreds or thousands of students in the past. to kind of identify, okay, this is where the student really has confidence. This is where they seem to be naturally, this is where their natural interests really lie and where they keep gravitating towards. But we also work, one of the most wonderful things about KO, and it truly is an amazing institution, is how close-knit our entire community is, also of faculty and staff. And so our advising structures, as well as the relationships between our office and the teachers and the staff at the school, allows us to understand where, if we feel like there's a part of a student that we don't get to see on a daily basis or even on a weekly basis, we know that their Spanish teacher might see it, or the football coach, or their English teacher, or the person who runs the KO News. And so we want to be able to have those conversations to really say, oh man, they're doing some pretty impressive things out there. And I want to bring that into our advising process. And so that's one of the things that we do to help students kind of understand where their strengths and interests are. But we also kind of pose, interesting, thoughtful, and sometimes challenging questions, a lot of them making students really reflect on their past experiences. So we want them to keep building new experiences, and we're going to keep pushing them to do that. And then we want them to think about them. And so, sometimes for teenagers that elicits an eye roll a little bit, but I think in the end, they end up in a really positive space for it, and they identify, oh man, that's something that I really enjoyed and where I could see myself moving in the future. Of course, we're listening to the families as well, because often parents are the ones who know their children the absolute best, and they have some really strong ideas and helpful ideas about where, what might be a good fit. Lastly, I think if we move that question into talking about college fit, we also want students to kind of start to begin an understanding, particularly in junior year, of the college marketplace. So it's really never too early to start touring colleges. We have a question about that, and we'll get to it in a little bit. But to have students be able to compare and contrast different college environments, different programs, and ask not just superficial questions, but questions that really get at the heart of what they're looking for, and build that understanding of the college landscape, helps our students really, I think, have an edge when it comes to finding the academic environment and home that's going to suit them for the next 4 years after KO. So this next question, Jamie, we'll let you tackle this one. What percentage of students get into their first choice university? And I think also just, I guess, what does first choice university really mean?
Great. So I think that actually this dovetails nicely with what Matt was talking about in terms of trying to find strengths and interests for students. I say a lot, and I know kind of one of the sayings, that it's not just about what is a good school, but what's a good school for you. So everybody's factors and everybody's process looks really different. And I think we spend a lot of time kind of in the kind of the noise thinking about what are good schools. And oftentimes that relates to acceptances, or kind of the percentage of how selective a college is, as opposed to the things that a kid is looking for and interested in. And so I think that that's really important to be flipping it. I think to be perfectly honest, we try and spend a lot of time asking our kids to rank their choices of schools in high, medium, low, first choice interest. I don't know about you, but it seems like most people here have some sort of teenager, whether they're 12, 13, or a little bit older. Even with my 10-year-old, their choices change drastically from when what they say one day to maybe a week later. And so our students, we often are encouraging them to make a college list of about, I would say, 7 to 9 colleges. And each one of those choices, each one of those 7 to 9 schools should be a top choice, that they should be able to see themselves at one of those schools. They really should not be applying to colleges just because they can get in, but they have to think about those schools as things that as a school that they could see themselves at. So what I was going to say is, to be truthful, we probably could do a better job of tracking how many kids are applying or getting into their first choice What I can tell you at this point of the process with seniors, the majority of our kids are going to institutions that are in their top 3 choices or are high on their list of schools that they have liked. So, you know, we have, Matt said before, 90% of our kids are applying somewhere by November 1st, not necessarily in a binding agreement, which is early decision, but some are early action, some are rolling. We have about, I think I did the numbers, a third of our kids who will end up, I think it's about a half of our kids who will end up applying somewhere in the early decision, which is that binding first choice, and about a third that before Christmas have gotten into their first choice school. So it's a pretty high number when you think about our class, that there's a percentage of kids who will have been successful in that early decision process. And then adding early decision 2, and then kind of looking at those families or those kids who have waited until May to make a decision. It's a high number of kids who are really genuinely excited about their process and the outcome. And I think that for us is what we're kind of looking at. So not so much at what school is the top of their school, but are they happy with the choices that they've made? And I really stress with a kid, you want to have at least 2 choices at the end of the day. When you have 2 choices, you feel empowered to be the one making the decision. And so there are kids for whom, I mean, I have a kid actually as an example who was telling me that he was only interested in small liberal arts colleges the entire time. Come November, he did a program where he spoke to a lot of students, interviewed somebody in a professional and a pre-professional program. He did truly a 180 and chose a different path and put 2 different schools on his list. And he's now going to go to one of those 2 schools. It's not a small liberal arts college. It's a large institution in an urban environment. If I had told you, you know, if we talked about this in October, his first choice was always a small liberal arts college in the middle of kind of rural Maine, and then rural Vermont. And then now he is so excited and his first choice is in an urban center. That wouldn't have happened if we were a fixed mindset to be saying you have one choice and one choice only. And so I think that really kind of helps thinking about that, you know, our kids need to find the schools that are right for them, and what is right for them may shift even as they're learning about who they are throughout this process.
Thanks, Jamie. All right, so we have just a few minutes left and a number of questions left to answer. So this is now, we're gonna move on to the rapid fire answer round.
Okay, full disclosure, we're not good at that because we love talking.
All right, so Peggy, the challenge is yours. Give a brief response to, you know, is the Space Summer Program, the Space Fair, open to incoming 9th graders? And can you give a very brief description on the program?
Yes, happy to. The Space Fair is specifically for KO students and KO parents. So if you have a student who is in our 8th grade Form 2 class at the middle school, yes, every year the middle school advisors bring the entire 8th grade class to the Space Fair. If you if you're a family who has an 8th grader who's not at KO middle school, no, this is just for KO. So it makes the, you know, it's a big fair. We have about 23 different organizations that are represented. About 16 of them are probably organizations like Putney and Abbey Road and Where There Be Dragons and things like that, where that's what they do. But every year we've increased the number of local organizations. So for example, Neighborhood Studios, which is paid internships at the arts nonprofits in Hartford, and Junior Achievement, I mentioned, UConn has a wonderful capstone science research project. They always participate, et cetera. And we have a lot of other kinds of information. but it's really easy for our parents to come. We schedule it in the morning, so from 8 to 9 is for parents to come. And so the ability to talk to these organizations is superb. And then from 9 to 10, the upper school students plus the 8th graders from the middle school attend. And again, there's, I think because of the fact that it's strictly for KO gives everybody really great access to ask questions and acquire the type of information that allows them to make decisions about spending how they want to spend summer.
Thank you. All right. So we also have a question. Jamie mentioned relationships with international colleges at the beginning of the presentation. Which international colleges do we work with? And I can go ahead and give a little bit of information there. And that's because, you know, I'm working with some students right now who are looking at some international schools. And last year, I also had two students that ended up enrolling at international schools, one at the University of London and the other at the University of Melbourne. So somebody in the Australia system and somebody else in what we call the UCAS system. And so, you know, I wouldn't say we have a partnership with any particular international college. That's not really how it works. But we have a number of international schools that come and visit us every fall, along with over 100 domestic U.S. institutions that come to our campus, and we sit down with all of them. Certainly, when they have representatives that are coming over from Dublin and some other places, we make sure that we get to sit, talk with them, understand their programs, what they offer, and how a student at KO can access their international education. And so it isn't to say that we have a partnership with any one given school, but we work really hard to make sure that we understand not only the US system for higher education, where of course most KO students will end up going to school in the US, but to understand the systems in Canada, in the UK, in Europe in general, and in Australia, where we've seen students go in the past few years. So I hope that answers that question. And then we will let Jamie take the last question of the night. And so I'll do that. I'm just going to say really quickly, we have a couple questions about things like, you know, some strong engineering schools, understanding how colleges understand the rigor at KO. And if you don't feel like we answered your question, or if you think of a question later, always feel free to reach out to us, reach out to the admissions office. They'll put you in touch with us, or we had our emails up there earlier. If you were able to get those, you can find them on the KO website. We're happy to talk with you one-on-one if you have questions. So if you didn't get it answered tonight or you think of it later, just let us know and we'll be sure to be in touch soon. But Jamie, last question of the night. How do college advisors help students feel more comfortable about their college application?
Well, I feel like there's a lot I could answer in that question. So I think that, listen, I have a lot of thoughts kind of running through my head. The first is, I think that the opportunity for us to really get to know our students, everything from when we first sit down with them, sometimes as sophomores, maybe even earlier, we really try to get to know them as individuals, what they like, what they are good at, where their strengths lie. That we have the opportunity to then, when they are writing their essay, when they are filling out the applications, when they are interviewing with colleges, that we can say, hey, make sure you talk about this. Make sure you have an opportunity to share this example, because we know them really well. And I think that speaks volumes to the relationships that we build with our students. And so I think that I often say to my students that we are, you know, I didn't get into this profession, and I don't think any of the three of us got into this profession because we like to send transcripts or kind of, you know, do the paper administrative tasks. We do this work because this is a transformative experience for young, you know, young adults, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You sometimes see the change in a kid from the spring of their junior year to the fall of their senior year, and it's remarkable. There is a reason why a lot of kids are applying to college at this time. a lot of that has to do with the transformative experience. We truly believe that this is an empowering process, that we want to empower our young students to be thinking about what's right for them. Who are they? What do they want to see in the world? What are the changes that they want to tackle? What are the problems they want to solve? And by having that relationship really kind of in an asset-based way, thinking not just about where are you going to college, but like, how can I help you think about being a happy and healthy adult and having a happy, healthy, successful life? What are the right steps to get there? What are the paths you want to take? What are the colleges that can help you along that way? And reminding them that they are the prize in this process, not the college, right? I often am saying to kids, listen, you can't make a wrong decision. That every college is great. It is not going to be a better option. It's going to look different, right? It's going to change your path. I think having those conversations with kids, and they trust us to be able to say that because they know we know who they are, makes them feel more confident and comfortable in the college process. I think it both speaks to their comfort in terms of their written ability of writing an essay, and knowing that we've spent time on the other side of the desk, if you will, working with college admission officers, as well as being college admission officers, to when they hit those applications and are saying yes. So I think that, you know, we often, I think about like that question earlier. Nobody, I think that when we think about focusing on the standardized testing, thinks back to the college process and thinks, wow, I loved studying for my SAT or ACT. Generally, that's the part they like least. And I think that you might score well in them or not, but that's not necessarily the part that kids remember. Those aren't the pieces that they kind of think about. They remember the conversations. They remember the tours that they did with their families. They remember those conversations about, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I think that we try to remind them that ultimately you have to do things that are right for you and who you are and who you want to be, that we care as much about you now as we do about you in 10 years. So I hope that answered the question. I want to reiterate to Matt's point, we are happy to answer questions. Sorry, it sounds like Peggy wants to just jump in briefly.
I just wanted to get practical for a moment and just tag on to something that you said earlier. If the question has to do with literally how we help them with the college application, even though we haven't been in school since the beginning of March, all of our juniors have the first draft of their college application essay done and into us. All of our juniors will have an individual meeting with us in the next week or two to go over those essays. All of our juniors have opened their common application. That's one of the things that we did last week in our VQV, or our college advising classes. We have gone over what parts make sense to do now and what parts of the common application do not make sense to do now. And we have started them on the activities list in SCORE, which is our other college advising platform. And so what we have wanted very much to ensure that they understand, our poor juniors who are home at the moment instead of visiting colleges over March break, we want to make sure that they have the assurance that we are going to be as accessible to them virtually as we would have been in the office, and that we are keeping them on track with everything in the college process that normally happens in the spring that they would have gotten done if we were in school. And the only thing we don't control is the fact that SAT and ACT test dates were canceled. And we have talked through a revised plan for that. So I think whether it's philosophically or down in the trenches pragmatically, we are always thinking about what's the best thing we need to be providing, or how do we need to be counseling our students right now to make sure that they are fully supported in this very important process, this transformative process that ultimately sends them on their way to whatever they're going to do after they leave KO.
Yeah, and I think we're hitting time. That was perfect things to kind of highlight, Peggy. So thanks for making it more pragmatic. I also just want to say, like, one of the things that has been a real benefit at an institution like ours is our doors are open to all of our students, 6 through 12, and families. And so what we really kind of encourage our students and our families to do is to never stew in that question. Never necessarily ask those questions to others, but ask us. We are usually a group that cares about them as the person and their family. We're not benefiting necessarily from them. We want to make sure that they are doing things successfully and in a student-centered way. And so I think that that's been really a positive thing for our families. I think they feel supported. They feel like they have a place to ask the questions, whether that's about testing or whether that's about a major or whether that's about college research or kind of decisions. And I appreciate those conversations and daily interactions that we have with students and families to recognize that that's why we do this work. So I think that it's a crazy time to be working in college counseling and college admissions, just kind of shifting that. Daily, we get conversations about changes in the college process, given the things going on in our world. College admission offices are going test optional, changing deadlines, thinking about grades, all of that. And we have the opportunity to really work with kids and thinking about what matters to them and why is that important and how can they stay positive in a time of unrest? How can they think about the things that they like? I think one of the benefits of kind of meeting with all of our juniors last week, we had the opportunity to think about what is something that you are enjoying while you are home, not necessarily because you want to be. And that can be a hard question for a lot of kids. But the opportunity to think about kids saying that they are enjoying the slower pace of life, enjoying baking, they're enjoying doing activities with their families, they are enjoying kind of getting sleep, having those conversations and reminding them that those things hopefully can continue after. I know for me has been a real bright spot in this experience, and at the heart really hits back to what matters in this process, and that's the kid and the student, and really centering it on that. And I think that's always been our guiding philosophy, and it really is a guiding principle of KO. And so we are just kind of living out that mission in our office, and allowing them to really think about how can KO and all the opportunities, how can they take advantage of that can kind of highlight who they are and really in their own individual journey. And I think that's really important. Matt, are there other questions? Any other comments that you want to make?
Well, I think we've got to the bottom of our question list, which is wonderful. And I think, a last point that I would make is mostly that, one of the things that I enjoy about our office, that I think students enjoy about our office, is that we all genuinely love working with students. We love the idea that we work with them one-on-one. We love the idea that we get to see them in groups. And we really like helping them and their families navigate this process. And so we want to serve as experts and give expert advice and make sure that they have an experience in applying to college that's hopefully as wonderful as their college experience will be. We know that it's a stressful time for a lot of families and certainly for students, but we try our best to kind of relieve the stress as much as possible, take some of the stress off, but mostly understand that it is stressful for some people. And, we want wonderful outcomes from them and for them to really realize that there are a number of institutions that are going to be fantastic options for them, and so that they have some choices in this process. So that's about it from me. And I just want to thank everybody for watching tonight.
Peggy, do you have any last points
Yeah,
that you want to make?
I'm going to be really pragmatic one more time. Because I don't know who's in the audience at this point, it occurs to me that there could be some incoming sophomores or incoming juniors. And even if the student you have in your family is an incoming freshman, we are 12-month employees. We work through the summer. We are your one-stop shopping at any time of year. And so I would encourage you, not only will we get back to you now if you have other questions, but we're also available throughout the summer. Hopefully not virtually, hopefully in person.
Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your night.